8 o'clock.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Welcome to another edition of Master Force with Shemsu-t on the Female Solution. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to share with you, to come and just be in thought on what we can be doing for ourselves in our community. So today, I wanted to have a really great conversation with you regarding the winter solstice, right? So, if we want to talk about the power of the winter solstice, we can actually begin to look at what's happening in our environment, right? Things going on right now. We can feel a difference, the change in the energy, right? People are becoming more hibernating. They want to be inside. They want to also, what? Be in the sun. So a lot of people do take vacations. However, one of the things that tend to happen this time of year is that we actually do get caught up inside of the conversations of the winter solstice, of the Christmas holiday, right? So I want to give us an opportunity to look at what would it mean for us, instead of observing Christmas and all of those other winter activities, what does it look like to actually participate in the winter solstice? So that's what today's conversation is going to be about. Now, how many of you have actually participated in the solstice, right? Many times we might want to teach stillness. So, how does the universe teach us stillness? Well, if we look at the cosmic expression and the way that things are operating in the universe, we can get a really nice glimpse of stillness, and especially during the wintertime. So, what causes the solstice? The solstice happens when the Earth's axis tilts to the northern hemisphere furthest away from the sun. So the earth is further away from the sun, and that means that it's at its lowest point in the sky. And when it's at its lowest point in the sky, right, that means that the days are going to be darker. So the closer we get to the beginning of the winter solstice, we will begin to experience more darkness, right? So we want to kind of look at how during the shortest period, when it creates the shortest period of daylight in the longest night of the year, after that day, then the days begin to brighten again, which is why we celebrate December 25th, because that's the day after the solstice. Now, I know that many of us, we're used to Christmas, but this year, the winter solstice does fall on Sunday, December 21st, right? Now, traditionally, everybody has up their Christmas trees and their lights and all of that. And all of this is representative of different cultures and how they welcome in the winter time, winter season. The reason I want to have a conversation about this is because we need to teach our children how to ground themselves inside of a conversation that is more life giving, right? And if we realize that life is spiritual, it's about our spiritual essence, it's about how we grow, it's about how we become closer to God, it becomes about how we exhibit the magic of God in our own life. So, when do we do that? A good time of the year to do this is at the winter solstice. This is a great time for us to really hone in to the return of the light so that we're not afraid of the darkness, right? We're not afraid anymore. We're not going to hide and run under the covers. We're going to allow our own light to shine, right? But we're also going to commit ourselves to deep rest. What is going on with the planet right now in this hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere right now? Everything is resting. Our plants are hibernating, right? Everything in the ground, underground is asleep. Everything is resting. So, why are we out here hustling and bustling, trying to shop for Christmas items, trying to find the best presents, trying to make sure that someone has the best thing that they can could actually receive from us? Well, the best thing that people can receive from us is us, our love, our presence, our attention, our intentionality. That's the best gift that we can give people. So, using this time of year to actually be the light, to get deep rest, and then to also, right, reflect and release. We've gone through a whole entire year. What did you gain in this year? See, if we really look at nature, nature moves in cycles, right? And there's always an ebb and flow. There's always something increasing. And then what does it do? It decreases. So we get to take stock of our own life. We get to look and see, how do I reflect on my life for this year? What are the things that worked for me this year? What are the things that didn't work for me? This is what we do with the winter solstice. We take time to actually be still and reflect on what the lessons were for this year and then what it is we want to accomplish next year. Now, not only do we do that with ourselves, but we can also begin to add a new tradition for our families, for our children. How do we teach our children stillness? We have to demonstrate it ourselves. Okay. We have to show within ourselves what it is to be still. Now, and I'm not saying you have to sit still for a whole day, although it would be nice if you rested and allowed yourself to be still, but you don't have to do that. Okay. Part of it is resting your mind, resting from stress, pulling back from the world. All of those things are a form of rest. So try to think about, what are some of the things that you can create for you and your family during this winter solstice. Now, we're going to talk more about these later, but that's just an idea. But if you think about it, in our modern world of artificial light and constant action, the winter solstice is a permission slip to slow down. It reminds us that darkness is not something to be feared, but a necessary phase for rest and regeneration. It teaches that even in the darkest moments, the light always returns. Even in the darkest moments, the light always returns. Now, suppose we can get that at a core level so that as we face things in this upcoming year, as we face challenges and we run up against things that I don't want this to happen. Yeah, Well, we actually learned that sometimes it's okay for us to observe what is happening instead of reacting to it and trying to fix it, because there's probably something here that I need to put my light on. I need to put my attention on this. Okay. So let's start looking at, I just want to look at some of the things that we can do during the winter solstice, give you some ideas for you and your family and what you can create around activities. So, here are just the first 10. There's emotional freedom technique. Now, emotional freedom technique, it's really about tapping, right? And releasing any stored residual emotion that is stuck in our cells. Now, most of us don't realize that we have stuck emotion from our childhood, from different activities that happened to us. It could have been at school, could have been at home, could have been, in the street, right? But sometimes this emotion gets locked inside of us and it causes us to always be moving in a certain way. Like we'll hold ourselves in a certain way because of that emotion. So, one of the things that we can do is emotional freedom technique. And this is how you release the emotions from the meridians, right? That are we have them all throughout our body, but there's certain 7 points that you can hit to begin to release that stuck energy in your body. And you use affirmations then to replace, to reframe, to re articulate what it is that you want instead of focusing on what's happening or what has happened. Okay. So, emotional freedom technique, you can find it out there anyway. We have plenty of videos on our Ignite Your Soul connection site as well. You can sage your space. And I hear so many people. I really am so concerned about how we have been hoodwinked in the religious factors, telling us that there's certain things that we shouldn't do because it's sacrilegious. But there are things that our ancestors did that we learned that really were part of our spirituality that we need to bring back into play. And part of that is clearing your space of negative energy. So, sage is one of those things that you can do. And when you sage your space, open your windows, open your doors, get the corners, because a lot of dark energy gets stuck in the corners. Okay. Then you also want to relax. When I say relax, I mean put some music on, some music that's going to have you gyrating, but that's going to have you really seeking comfort within. Recapitulate. This actually means looking at your life, looking at this time. In our coaching classes, we teach people that recapitulation is something that you should do every night so that you can rest peacefully. So, what does it mean? It means that by your bed, you have a journal, and you're going to take that journal and you're going to write your day in just maybe one or two lines. What worked today? What was great today? Write that down. What did you mess up on? What did you make a mistake? What did you miss? And again, you're observing without judging. You're observing. So you're going to write down what you didn't do so that you can do what? Move that to tomorrow's to do list. But recapitulation gives you the opportunity to clear your mind. So if you do this at night, it will give you a better day and better sleep. But if you do this also at the end of the year, you get to have an assessment of your accomplishments. And then you also get to look at what it is you want to do the next year. So recapitulation is really something we highly recommend. Okay. Drink lots of water. Add minerals to those water. Add um, magnesium to your water. Add a tea bag to your water, but drink lots of water. Do a facial. One of my favorite facials to do is with turmeric, coconut oil, and honey. And you just mix, one of each, one ingredient of each. You mix those together, you put it on your face, and you let it sit for 20 or 30 minutes, and then you wash it off. And it will have cleansed so much of your energy and added so much to your energy, to your face, to your youthfulness, right? To your skin's texture. Drink golden milk. Golden milk is made with turmeric, coconut oil, honey, and black pepper, right? You cook that, you stir that up, you drink that, it's going to make your joints feel so much better. So much better, okay? Teach the children meditation. I'm requesting that every household this year, this coming year, that you take on meditating at least one day a week for 10, 15 minutes with your children. One day. If you're already doing that, then increase the time, increase the dates, increase meditation time with yourself in your family. The importance of increasing meditation time with your children is that it synchronizes that energy together. And for those of you who do read the Bible or have read the Bible, it says wherever two people come together, right? So imagine you can have your whole household coming together, meditating, generating a frequency for a goal or an intention that you want to realize for the family. This is how you actually do that. You actually come together and focus. Remember how we talked about Marvit? Talked about that Marv technique, and that's what you do together during the solstice. And then, of course, my last one here is play chess. Why do you want to play chess? Just so that you can have time, right, to be in the strategy, in the conversation of your children in your family. Okay. I started teaching my children how to play chess, each one of them, when they were 3. And they couldn't teach them how to do the actual, attacks or anything. But I taught them how the pawns move, how the rook move, but I taught them how everything moves, right? I taught them how everything moves. And when everything moves, you can then talk to them about strategy. All right. You talk to them about strategy at a time when they're going through life problems, but you can show them strategy when you're teaching them chess. Okay. So that's why we encourage everybody um, to start your children off on chess as soon as possible, and it's a great thing to do during the winter solstice. So now when we talk about some of the other ideas that we have around the winter solstice, we can also talk about the things that we do for our own self-care. Now self-care is, it's come to be more about looking good, how good you look, but self care is actually how well the body moves itself, how it moves through things, right? Especially as you get older, you want to keep your flexibility, you want to keep your mobility, you want to be able to walk, so everything that I read now says that your aging starts in your legs, so make sure that your legs are strong, okay? And you're going to use your legs, right? So, some of the other things that you can do during the winter solstice is you can do oil pulling to detox your mouth. Detox your mouth. And all this is just taking a tablespoon of of coconut oil, putting it in your mouth, swishing it around, moving it around, right? And you want to do that for 10 to 15 minutes. You want to swish this oil around in your mouth for 10 or 15 minutes, right? So when you swish it around in your mouth for 10 or 15 minutes, you actually are pulling out the toxins. You are removing the toxins from your body, not just your mouth. So this will help your complexion. This will help your digestion. This will do a lot of things. But so you want to actually do oil pulling. I tell people do it as often as possible, but at least once or twice a week. And especially if you're healing or if you're taking some type of medication, because this also helps to get, medication. Too much medication can be toxic in your body. So detoxing with the oil pulling helps that, right? And then, of course, sleep as much as you can. Drink your favorite teas. My favorite teas include hibiscus, green tea, turmeric, and ginger tea. There's so many healing teas out there. I really, we could do a entire curriculum on how teas nurture and heal the body. So I really recommend. I know my one Chinese doctor that I've been going to for many years. He's always telling me, just drink tea all day. Just drink tea, right? Also, soak in the tub. That's another way of detoxing. Putting some Epsom salt in the water. Throwing in some. I also like to put in a little bit of the salt crystals, but also uh, some of the mud. Throw in some other ingredients. You can use baking soda. Baking soda is a good one. Borax is a good one. It kind of makes it a little muddy. But it does pull out it does detox the body, pull out all the bad toxins from your body. Complete a project. What are you working on? Write a book. Wear white. Be in solitude. Be in silence. And of course, I'm also going to say meditate again. But all of these things are just ways for you to be inside of your body, to be inside of what it is that you want to do next in your life. Okay, so now here's another one. Watch documentaries. How many of you only allow entertainment? Sometimes there are things we need to know. Do you know that we're going through a major financial reset? Have you been looking at what's happening with banks and the financial institutions? Have you noticed that all the CEOs have been told to step down? They're leaving. Why? Because there's some things going on behind the scenes. And we need to be aware of this. We need to be aware. So watch documentaries. And then write personal notes. This is a good time of the year to send a note to your grandparents, your parents, your siblings, your aunts and uncles, just to write a note for them to receive it in the mail or underneath their door or something. Okay. Pull back from social media. I can't say enough about that. Pull back from social media. We have to really set some boundaries. Some boundaries that I have is I don't put social media on my phone so that I'm not in it all the time. And that when I do want to use social media, I have to consciously choose to do that instead of just automatically being on social media. So pull back from social media. Look at some of the boundaries you can put in place for yourself. Okay. Write your 5-year plan. Have you ever did that? Have you ever sat down with your family and said, 5 years from now, what is it do we want to have accomplished? What do we want to do in 5 years? Do you notice that all we actually do is allow society to tell us, okay, this is what you're going to do next. This is what you're going to do next. This is what you're going to do at this age. This is what you do at another age. We are not the same. So we need to sit down and write out our own 5 year plan. What is the 5 year plan for your family? What is the 5 year plan for you? And if you have a plan in place, do you know now, and you've written it down, longhand written it down? If you have a plan in place, the universe can now support you because why? You've actually put it out there. You've gotten it out of your head and you've written it down. Okay. So write a 5 year plan. Do that for yourself. Do that with your family. If you have uh, young adults, have your young adults write out their 5 year plan. Where do they see themselves 5 years from now? And are they taking the steps to make that happen? A 5 year plan will give you better direction instead of just waking up doing the same thing over and over again, waiting for something new to happen. Create your life. That's what we're here for. We're here to create our life. The next one is to talk less. Okay. So that goes back into that silence and solitude. And then one of my favorites, forgiveness therapy. Forgiveness therapy is really, that's one of the most healing things that any of us could do. Forgiveness therapy, you really, if you want to create and align yourself with the energy of God, the energy of the universe, you want to make sure that your heart is light. We read in comedic sciences and we talk about Ma'at in the feather, right? That feather is put on that balancing scale, right? And your heart is put on the other scale. And your heart has to be just as light as that feather. How do you do that? You do that through forgiveness. And I know it can be some very, very, very harsh things that has happened to you, to your family, and forgiveness is the way. Forgiveness is the way because it allows us to open our hearts. When we have open hearts, we can be more receptive to what the universe is wanting to provide for us. When we become cold and bitter and shut down, and we have grudges and resentment, that's telling the universe, I don't want anything from you. I want to hold on to this anger. I want to hold on to this pain. I don't want to be free. But I want you to know we've been given a whole lifetime to get free. And the sooner the better. We've been given a whole lifetime to be free. And most of us want to do what? We want to sit and hold on to the anger. So do some forgiveness therapy. All right. Also, you can study at YouTube universities. They have a lot of topics that you can go through, a lot of things that you can learn about yourself. Focus on your optimal health. What is the best health that you can have? Focus on your optimal health. And then of course, you're going to walk. And you can walk in nature. If it's too much to walk outside, you can also on YouTube, they have a walking video. Walk. And then also daydream. What do you really, 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 really want in life? What do you really want? Think about something that you really want. Daydream about it. Just daydream about it and then just see what happens. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll continue to look at the winter solstice. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. And we're going to continue our conversation about the winter solstice. Now, I want you to consider that maybe, you know, some of the ideas that I'm sharing with you may be too far fetched, but that's okay because when we get to the end, we're actually going to look at some other ways of creating opportunities that we want to see. Okay. So let's look at this. The next thing you might want to do during the winter solstice is to create a vision board. Now, why would I create a vision board? Your vision board is going to be based on your daydreaming. What is it that you really want? Well, you always want to look at your relationships. Is there anything that I need to change about my relationships? My health? Is there any particular thing I need to focus on with my health? What about your actual activities? Do you participate in life or do you just recluse? And sometimes recluse is okay, but you don't want to do it all the time, right? So really take on looking at what it is that you can daydream about and create a vision board about. All right. Then write out your affirmations. So you have this vision board and you really want this whatever it is that you want. So create the affirmation that actually says I have this. Thank you universe for my brand new car, my brand new house. Thank you universe for my wonderful loving relationship. Thank you universe for my wonderful healthy body. Create your affirmations. Now, because it's during the solstice, one of the things that you may want to do is while you're resting, just sit down and write them out. Give yourself the luxury of writing your affirmations. You have 4 days to do that, okay? You can also do yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, right? Any of those, and many of these are on YouTube. You can also fast from heavy foods. So, this could be a really good time for you to just have maybe some salads, you know, teas. You're just going to do salads, you're going to do teas, you're not going to do meat, you're not going to do your starches or your sugars. Listen, we have got to get really serious about what's going on with our health in our community. It's in the food. It's in the food. So, parents, it's on us. Grandparents, it's on us. Why are we still feeding our children the things that we know is detrimental to their well being? Okay. So, we can use this winter solstice, we can use it for us and for the whole family for us to fast. And we can create together what we want to fast from. Eat black grapes, dandelion leaves. These are things that will detox your body, okay? Even warm lemon water every day will do the same, right? Turn off your electronics. If you can unplug the Wi Fi for a day or maybe 12 hours, something to stop that frequency from always buzzing in your house, right? Listen to classical music. Why classical music? Because of how music affects our body. It slows our mind down. It actually slows our thoughts. It allows our mind to have a mental break, right? Crochet, knit, sew. I was so excited. I started the winter off this winter. I started this winter off by crocheting a half dozen sets of items for children in Detroit, right? So I had scarves, ear muffs, and hand muffs, and for girls and boys, and I put donated those. But it was just so much fun to just sit, and it's an anonymous. They don't know who I am, but to know that some child is going to get a gift from me that I set and crocheted. I put love into it because I want them to feel the love. I want them to know the love, even if it's from a stranger. But these are things that we can do during the solstice, during our downtime. So we're not sitting in front of the television and we're not playing games on our phones, but we really are sitting with ourselves. We're being with ourselves and we're allowing the universe to participate with us when we're like this, right? So that's why we actually suggest crocheting, right? Sewing and knitting. And then also there's breathe to center. How many of you have a daily breathing program? Oxygen, getting to our cells is the most important thing for our mitochondria. How do we do that? You do that by breathing, deep belly breathing, not in the chest, but in the belly. And again, there are plenty of videos on YouTube for you to find out how to do that. Okay. Also, the last one on this list is to soak your feet. I actually have me a little foot basin, put some magnesium or some magnesium crystals in there, and I put my feet in there and I sit and crochet. It's kind of like a delightful thing to do. It's not a big thing, but can you imagine? You get back to enjoying the little things in life, soaking my feet while I crochet with classical music in the background. I'm inviting you to take that on for yourself as well. What are the things that you love to do when you don't have to do all the chores? Okay, we are allowing ourselves a pass. It's only for 4 days, December 21st through the 24th, so that we can actually align ourselves with the energy of the universe. Everything is asleep now. We don't need to be running around chasing after gifts and throwing our money away. We need to be investing. We've been working all this year and we're going to go and buy stuff that will be in the garbage, what, in January? Let's be more mindful. Okay, let's understand the value of our energy and understand the value of our attention. We don't want to spend every energy or all the energy that we have making sure that somebody else's life works. We want to make sure that our own lives are working. Okay. So now let's take a look at what we can do inside of the conversation of aligning your soul purpose. So the winter solstice, soul, right? That means sun, but that also means the soul within us. We want to slow down enough so that we can plant that seed we can actually align our energy with the universe and find out what it is the universe would have us do. What are you supposed to be doing next? Do you know this? Have you inquired? Or are you strictly generated from your ego? So when you're aligning your soul purpose, that means that you understand every single day how your energy is going to be used. And you're not getting thrown from this thing to that thing because you're aligned with your soul's purpose. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges. But what it means is those challenges are in line with building your character so that you can actually discover for yourself your soul purpose. Having character is a very important thing because when you're provided something, when you're given something, you are expected to take care of it, right? So during this solstice, we're taking time to align with our soul's purpose. If you don't know what that purpose is, meditate. Meditate. And then find your wise friends. You have wise friends. Everybody does. The universe is so generous with us. We have people around us to support us. So ask the people, what do you think my soul purpose is? Also, we want to use this time for reframing traditions. So instead of being so excited about buying gifts and running to stores and spending money, may I suggest crafts? Teaching your children how to make things for people. You can make cookies, you can make cakes and pies. You can make so many amazing things for people that you don't have to go out and buy what somebody else has made. Now, you're not only saving money, but you're also adding another layer of energy to that product that you made. And then you're teaching your children another way of sharing instead of always spending their hard earned cash on something. And I say hard earned because a lot of times, in order to make money, you have to take your attention from something else. Right? We have to take our attention away from our children. We have to take our attention away from our spouses. We have to take our attention away from our houses. We have to take our attention away from the things that we enjoy doing, right? I'd rather be on the beach, but no, I have to go to work. So during the solstice, do the things that you enjoy doing instead of just always doing what we have to do. Reframe the traditions. All right. Reframe the traditions for yourself, reframe your traditions for your family, and help your children to reframe their own traditions. Okay. We don't need to eat all of this heavy food this time of year. Sugars and alcohol are so detrimental. A lot of people get sick during the holiday because they put too much sugar and alcohol in their bodies, right? Starch and cakes. Let's do something different. Let's do something different. Now you have to decide what that difference is, but let it be so huge that everybody in the family will want to adopt it. Okay, so let's reframe our traditions. And, we can talk about the 40 laws of Ma'at around Christmas instead of the Christmas story, which is all made up anyway. It's all made up. Okay, so let's talk about some other things that will make a difference for our children. Tell them about Ma'at. Okay. Also, expanding our consciousness. What does that really mean? I talked about how we go through life automatically, right? We do this, and we don't even have to think about it. It's like when we're driving home from work, we really don't have to think about it because we'll just end up at home and don't even remember how we got there, but we know we drove the car, right? Being conscious is being intentional about what you're doing, is being intentional about how you use your energy, how you spend your time, the people that you're with. All of that matters. Every bit of it matters. Good morning, Bridget. Thank you. She says, love your message this morning. Thank you, Bridget. I usually do a solstice for Ignite Your Soul Connection, but we're not doing that this year. So I still wanted to remind people that it's very important for us to spend time in the solstice, right? So we're expanding our consciousness by being present. We're being present to everything that we're doing. And I know you can't be present to all, every single thing. However, you ever notice that you eat by time instead of that you're hungry, right? Or you eat by commercial? That's not being conscious. That's actually you're being triggered by something outside of yourself. So, being conscious, I want you to just notice when you're actually triggered to do something. Are you choosing, or are you just going to follow that instruction? You know how we used to watch the cartoons and you see the bakery, the little smoke hand come out of the bakery and tell you, come into the bakery, come into the bakery. Well, that's not being conscious. That's you allowing something else to guide you. Well, I'm telling you, the thing that you want guiding you is inside. That's why you want to understand your soul purpose so that you're being conscious of how you use your energy every single day, right? Okay. So then also we want to, during this winter solstice, increase our receptivity. Now, this is really important because many of us grew up inside of households where we realized that people did not live with integrity, or they told us one thing and they did something else. Okay. So they tell us one thing and they do something, and then they correct us on what they want us to do, but they don't correct their own behavior. So we become defiant. We literally become so defiant that even within ourselves, we can't hear. So when you hear people talk about their first mind, most people do not listen to their first mind. They are not receptive. The universe almost has to hit them upside the head for them to make a change in their life. Well, we don't want to have to always be like that. You can learn through love, or you can learn through pain. Marianne Williamson wrote about this in her book, um, The Return to Love, that many of us have become so embattled that we can't hear the opportunity to expand and to grow. We can't believe that we can have the greatness and the goodness in life. Well, if you can't believe it, then no, you won't have that. It's only through you changing and being receptive. The universe is sending you this light bulb. Hey, look at this. Yeah, no, Black people don't do that. Poor people don't do that. Where I come from, people don't do that. Well, this winter solstice, we're going to increase our receptivity. We're going to check in on our soul purpose, and we're going to see where our consciousness is taking us and not spend so much time being defiant, so defiant that we won't listen to ourselves. We won't listen to ourselves. We won't even listen to God because of our own defiance. So, Because we're being receptive, that means that when we're daydreaming and we're redoing the Marbit, remember the Marbit, meditate, affirm, relax, visualize. Well, when you're receptive this time of year, the universe is also what? Receptive this time of year. So it's the perfect time to plant those seeds for the spring. That's when real life starts again. That's when the real cycle of the new start. It starts in the spring. This time of year, we are reframing our traditions, expanding our consciousness, and increasing our receptivity so that we can have a partnership by aligning with our purpose and having that partnership with the universe, with God, so that we can create a life that we love. So, those are the things that we have to do in order to be in alignment. We have to be receptive, but we can also know that the universe is receptive to us as well. Okay. Then also, we want to strengthen our family ties during this season. I've already suggested that we sit with our children and meditate. But not only that, how about we sit with our children and talk about the family? Let's talk about our ancestors that are directly related to our family, the grandparents, the great grandparents. You can pull out scrapbooks and have people talk about how the family did things together in the past. You can share family recipes. This goes back into reframing traditions as well, but you can also strengthen your family ties. Create new traditions for those children that are coming. Really look and see, what are we doing right now that is detrimental? It could be in what you eat. It can be in how you don't exercise. It could be in the shows that you watch. It could be that you're still allowing your children too much time with their devices. Listen, we if you haven't heard yet that Roblox has been actually hit, they've been accused of targeting children and coming to their houses, coming to their homes. So Roblox is not a program that you should allow your children to be on without you understanding how that operates. But they're being sued right now, and they're suing somebody else because they told on them. So if your children are on the devices, this again points back to let's strengthen family ties. What are the boundaries that you can place for your children? No, you don't want to just take them from them completely, but you can say, okay, listen, 8 o'clock, all devices go away so we can spend an hour together getting ready for our tomorrow. Bedtime is 9 o'clock, from 8 to 9. That's time for us to just no devices. We're just around the house. We're getting the house ready for tomorrow. We're getting our school things ready, making our lunches, whatever those things are that you do with your children. You know, put some boundaries so that the devices are not dictating how you move in your family. And pay attention to Roblox and those other games that your children are engaged with. It's our responsibility to protect them. Okay. And now we also want to look at during this winter solstice, redefining your future. What is it that you want? We talked about your 5-year plan, but I want you to make sure that you're looking at something completely different than what you saw before. I remember when I decided that I wanted to be a healthy elder. right? And so there were things that I needed to do at 50 and 60 to make sure that the closer I get to 70, that I remain healthy. Well, you have to look out to your future to see what you have there or what you're creating based on the things that you're doing now that's going to stimulate that future. What is it that you need to do? Do you need to reassess your finances? Yes, everybody does. We have not been educating ourselves on money, and we actually believe that we don't deserve money. I don't know where that came from, right? We believe that we don't deserve money, or that if we get money, something bad is going to happen to us. And we do know where those programs came from. We do know that we have been heavily programmed to believe that if we become somebody great, or if we become wealthy, or if everybody know us, that we become dangerous. Well, we're not accepting that program anymore. We're not. You're not going to convince me that I have to live life according to your plans. That's what I love about who Shadur Sanders is being this year. I think I mentioned to you guys before that he's my role model this year. He's not going toe to toe with these people. He's not arguing with them. He's not telling them they have to change. He's saying, listen, I'm staying ready. Whatever God wants from me, it's going to show up. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I'm not going to try to be angry. I'm going to make sure that I'm ready. You know that he's practicing what? That forgiveness therapy. He's not allowing his heart to become bitter, but he is observing. He is paying attention. He does see what's happening. Is he clear about his future? Yes. He has defined his future, and he knows where he belongs. He understands clearly where he belongs. And even though other people around him may not agree, he's not looking at that. Why? Because he's aligned with his own soul purpose. And that's what I'm suggesting that each one of us do during this winter solstice, that we completely realign our lives, our family, ourselves, that we make such a huge difference during this holiday season, that we are grateful when it all turns over. We are grateful. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to probably write a book. And I used all my crochet yarn, so I won't crochet anything. But I think during this winter solstice, I'm going to write a book. Now, when does it start? On Sunday. And it goes for 4 days. So please find some solitude, find some peace. And when you do all of that, you come back and join me next week. I think that's going to be Christmas Day. And let me know how you did, because that's the day of the light. That's when the light returns. And that's how the Christ story was created. Created. All right. Well, we get to create our own stories too. So I'm inviting you to do that. All right. So thank you for joining me this week. I hope that this is useful information for you. And all I want to do is make a difference. I want our children to live great, happy lives more than anything. So that's why I'm sharing with you. So I look forward to next week. You join me here. All right. Thank you. Hold on. I want to share who's coming up next with me.
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jareh. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.